It's 8:34. Good morning. You're watching Breakfast here on GB News, and we're going to go through the headlines. Well, the headline makers, I should say.
We've got the assistant editor of The Spectator, Cindy Yu, with us, and political editor of HuffPost UK, Kevin Schofield.
Morning.
Thanks very much for coming back.
Should we have a look? We'll kick off with a viral video, which is obviously very poignant at the moment, Cindy, and it's people queuing up in Jerusalem to donate blood.
Yeah, and I hope we can see this. I think it's within 10 minutes of the blood bank opening, and that was the queue, which is just incredible.
It's a sad reality.
And hugely necessary, I imagine.
Absolutely. I'm actually interviewing someone on Monday morning for my podcast, Chinese Whispers, who usually in peacetime is a researcher, but he's now gone on active duty for the IDF.
Really?
So I think, you know, if you're Israeli right now, because the country is so small, as you guys will have heard, you either know someone who was killed or know someone who was taken hostage. So everyone feels that it's involving them, and if you can't be on active duty, if you can't fight, you probably want to help in whatever way you can.
And of course, because Israel has national service,
yes,
that means that there's a whole generation of people actually who could be called up at any minute, and are being called up.
They are,
aren't they?
And we've seen Brits as well going to Israel with dual nationality to help. I mean, I think you probably would want to at this moment. But of course, as you've been talking about on the show this morning, you know, what is the right way to help, and what are the rights of the Gazans in this situation right now?
There was a great video as well, I think I saw it yesterday, the day before, of IDF soldiers who were abroad, stationed abroad, also having to come back to, obviously because of the conflict, and they came into Ben Gurion airport, and there was huge crowds there just to greet them and to celebrate the fact that they were coming back to defend the homeland, and they were dancing together, and it was remarkably upbeat, given.
Tell you what, though, if you were the mother of sons, and the girls fight, don't they, as well? You would be so worried because this is going to be a very, very bloody war.
Yeah, and probably quite lengthy.
But because they think it's self-defence, right? I mean, if you don't fight, then... Yes. I mean, they literally are coming for you, I mean, as we saw last Saturday, so...
I just don't... and the people, I've been to some Brits have died over there, but with the dual nationality going over and fighting and those people being recalled and all the rest of it, I don't know how people do it. You know, knowing soldiers, being married to a veteran, and I know you, Anne, with your experiences and all the rest of it, I still don't know how people do it. I really don't. It's beyond most of us, I think, to
I guess you rely on your training, don't you? You take a great pride in your training, and then you rely on it.
And there's also the catalyst, you know, the horrors of the last week, where we're still only just finding out more about the full scale of that. I think that's enough to radicalise someone into... Well, not radicalise, but to really trigger someone into doing something like that. Yeah, exactly.
I mean, we were talking about, earlier on, with Andrew Ebon, we were talking about this fake news on Twitter and X or whatever, which is everywhere now. And this is in the FT. The EU wants now to probe how the Middle East situation is being represented on X.
Yeah, so Elon Musk, when he took over this platform, got rid of so many moderators in a very kind of dramatic, mass-firing kind of situation. And he's also obviously allowed people to buy a blue tick, the verified status, rather than just previously before where you had to apply for one, which means that, you know, if you pay a subscription of around £8 a month, you can have a blue tick where the platform promotes you and you are seen as someone reliable. But of course, that's not necessarily the case. And I think this is the first real test for disinformation on the platform, as you were talking about with Andrew. There's been a lot of stuff that's been recycled from previous conflicts, billed as current conflicts, and the platform doesn't seem like it can keep up with that. But Elon Musk is fighting back, saying, you know...
How's it doing as X now? I mean, is it as popular as it was?
I don't know in terms of numbers. I'm certainly, from a journalist point of view, as for reliability, I don't use it nearly as much as I did as a news source, just because it's just not as reliable. It's not as reliable. You know, you get blue tick accounts posting breaking news, but they're not journalists. They're spreading disinformation quite often, and so you're less inclined to believe what you read on it.
Well, I don't understand what Elon Musk did then. Why did he do what he did?
I think he's a free speech...
deregulated.
He believes in free speech. He thought that the moderators were moderating in a way that was political. So we saw, for example, during the pandemic a few years ago, where in America, certainly, the government lent on Twitter moderators to get rid of disinformation, stuff that wasn't actually disinformation, but just against the kind of official narrative on COVID. And Elon Musk, when he came in, released those files to show that the government had been leaning on the platform. So he's anti that.
Yeah.
But there's obviously a balance to be struck.
A balance, yeah. You can't go too far the other way, or just a free-for-all.
But I think he's kind of bought into so much of this himself. You know, I've seen him tweeting, there was this one tweet saying, from a account with over 1 million followers, saying, you know, we've had so much more of the Israeli conflict in the last week than we have had over the Ukraine war for a year. Why is that? Suggesting that the Ukraine war has been staged. And Elon Musk tweets on that saying, indeed, or something like that, or interesting indeed.
Yeah, he's a conspiracy
totally bought into
theorist
it.
himself, which is dangerous, really.
Yeah.
Given he's got so much power. Terrifying.
It is worrying. How we move from that to Married at First Sight, I do not know.
Kevin watches. Do you?
Well,
You're a fan.
I want to clarify this. My wife is a big fan. There's Married at First Sight Australia was the first one, I think. And now there's Married at First Sight UK. I was getting this earlier as well, Stephen. So my wife watches it, and I will occasionally tune in.
Can you explain what the premise is?
So the premise is they get these experts who pair up, match up two people who are complete strangers to one another, and they literally do not see each other until... Now, I don't think it's an official marriage as such. I don't think it's legally binding. I think it's like a commitment ceremony. But there is there is a ceremony, and their families are there, and literally they do not see one another until they're at the altar, and because they're getting married at first sight.
Yeah.
And
It's ridiculous.
they will. I agree with you. I completely agree with you. But there's something strangely addictive. Not really. I mean, there might be a physical attraction if you get my drift. So there might be that, but I don't think in terms of long-term relationship, I don't think it ever works. And then they get these other couples, so then they have the 6 couples all together, and it just becomes a bit of a free-for-all. They're all bitching at each other.
So what's been happening
not
with
like
this?
that.
This video
There's a video that's gone viral about it.
Yeah, so this is a couple who meet on, as I say, on the altar, and she is quite taken with him.
Yeah.
And he's not very taken with her. And he tries to put a brave face on it, but he doesn't really succeed.
OK.
Let's have a look.
You look so
Thank you,
handsome.
you look amazing.
Look lovely.
Thank you.
Hi.
Family.
Yeah. I fancy him on initial attraction. He's lovely. He has such a beautiful smile.
When I first saw Bianca, it wasn't what I was expecting. I don't want to sound disappointed, but not like love at first sight.
Well, what a shocker. And people are outraged, are they, over this, because he actually meets some woman that he's expected to marry and doesn't fancy her very much.
I mean, you would think that is the jeopardy of the programme, isn't it?
Yeah.
And that's what makes it. It's because you don't want them really to go on and live happily ever after. You want them to...
You got to give it to him for being honest, though.
uncomfortable.
I mean, good for him for Ellie.
But yes,
but I don't know what he's got to complain about.
I don't know why he was quite so...
Exactly.
Because she's a good-looking girl.
Yeah, she was
wasn't
attractive,
she?
yeah. That's what I said.
We're all dumbstruck, aren't we? We don't know what to say.
The whole premise is ridiculous.
Don't want to make personal comments, do you? This is the trouble. And he'd got that bowl out and cut his hair especially.
I know, exactly. His mum had done it for him.
Yeah.
But I tell you, just watching that, I mean, I've never seen the show. I've never seen it. What I don't understand, these idiots who want to do this sort of television, fine. The fact the families are all sat there going...
Well, I know, but I mean...
Grandma crying in the corner.
How would you
get a grip?
How would you feel if it was your son or daughter saying, I'm getting married, but never actually met
Never actually met them.
You wouldn't
You'd say,
have
how much money is in it, dear, wouldn't you?
Would you?
Well, I presume there's money in it, and that's why you do it.
Can I give like a kind of devil's advocate defence of the show, which is that...
Are you a fan?
No, I have never watched it, but I have watched Love is Blind, which is kind of a similar premise, but they actually do talk to each other
Oh,
through the
helps.
walls beforehand.
walls?
Through the walls, yeah. They've got this like fancy house where the man and the woman are.
Sounds a bit
so
like
they can't see
blind
each other,
date
but they're
on the
dating.
21st century, yeah.
And then they choose, and then they see each other for the first time when they get married. But anyway, the point is, I wonder if, you know, with this
Weird.
expert panel, people are just feeling quite, you know, talking to my friends as well, feeling quite disillusioned with online dating, which is so superficial. You know, you swipe left, swipe right, whatever it is. And they just want, you know, there's maybe something to be said for having someone who knows
if they're
you
being matchmade
recommend.
by
They're being
so-called
matchmade.
experts.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So that in itself is an interesting idea.
Yeah.
That is coming back in a big way in reality TV shows, because it's not just this show. And
There's
as
a
Kevin
science
says,
behind it. That's what we're
Oh, yeah.
well, my grandparents had an arranged marriage, and then, I think there's something to be said in certain kinds of matchmaking. That's my devil's advocate defence
I mean,
of
look,
the
the
show.
poor fella, he walks up the aisle and is greeted by, oh, yeah. You just... I mean...
So it's not for you, then.
Oh, yeah.
He could have made a better face of it. He really could.
Yeah, he could have made an effort.
No,
Yeah,
I went on a blind date once and was literally greeted by, got into the coffee shop and was greeted with, oh, yeah. And I was like, I'm out of here. I'm so out of here. It's a long, long time ago. I just think
Customer.
I think they're all utterly bonkers.
Oh, I agree.
Yes.
It's nuts. I don't know why you'd ever do it in a million years, but some people just are desperate to be on the telly as well. There is that.
Absolutely. Want to be famous.
Believe it or
Their
not.
chance.
Dear me. It's like that naked attraction thing and all that, isn't it? Oh, the whole world's gone mad. The world has gone mad. We need to calm ourselves down by blowing bagpipes, Kevin.
Yes, I think we do.
Yes.
Times.
Yes, so the King's charity, the Prince's Foundation, is encouraging people with lung conditions or breathing difficulties to take up bagpipes for their health. Apparently, it is beneficial for your cardiovascular system.
I'm sure
it is.
And there is a organisation called Piping for Health, which was developed with the help of the King's doctor to basically get people to take... Now, obviously, being Scottish, I do enjoy the sound of the bagpipe. There's nothing better than a pipe
Have you ever
band.
tried playing them?
Never.
No.
Because if you're bad at it, it is horrific.
Yeah.
I think
Sounds
you are
like-
bad at it for many years before
Well, yeah,
you
that's the
get good.
thing. Yeah, you've got to get...
But there's no doubt you need lots and lots of breath, don't you?
I don't know how they do it because they're constantly blowing whilst then... Because
You've
you
got
just
to fill the air.
blowing
You've
it
got to fill
fill
the
it
air
up.
sac.
the bladder.
and then
Yeah,
you do
you
that.
fill
and-
that,
And
and
then
then you
pressing.
use that to do the tune or whatever.
Well, you've got your thing there,
Must
and
be
you
quite good for your mental.
But you have to keep blowing
agility
back
as well.
into it.
I could be an
Yeah.
actor.
Oh, look at you!
You never know. I've never done it, but I could do it. Look at
half the battle. You've got the hand
I was in
gestures.
Edinburgh.
But
Where
everything
were we?
going at the same
Oh, it was
time.
earlier this year we were in Edinburgh, and there was, just to be near the castle, and there's a piper.
Yeah.
Oh, it's lovely.
I mean, you can't beat
Yes,
it.
it is.
Yeah, you do. When you live there, you do kind of take it for granted.
Yeah. And do you remember the piper at Prince Philip's funeral? It was absolutely
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and the Queen, of
absolutely
course,
stunning.
was woken up by a piper every morning
Yes, that's
outside her window.
Was she?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
yeah. She
I mean,
had
have you
a-
seen the one in Parliament Square? Occasionally there's one on a corner of the parliamentary estate, which is
Yeah,
quite nice.
yeah,
as
that's
well.
right. Yeah.
very
You still hear the
traditional, rather brilliant.
skirtle of the bagpipes.
What I don't understand with this is how are people meant to? I suppose if you work with this charity or whatever, but otherwise you can't just get hold of a load of bagpipes, can you? They must cost a fortune.
Well, yeah, I think that it's an expensive piece of kit. Yeah, it needs to be.
And also,
part
I
of the-
think you need permission from your family.
Yeah, you probably
To
need a
actually
doctor's
even give it a
note.
go, don't you?
Yeah, I
Because-
mean, if you've got
and your
lung problems,
neighbours.
I wouldn't just go straight
Yes.
into.
Yeah, definitely your neighbours.
Definitely your neighbours.
Yeah, because you're right. If it's not done well, it is
Dreadful.
an assault on.
Mind
your
you, look at this. Scottish, full-size, silver bagpipe, silver plain mounts, black finish, Highland bagpipes, £79
Oh, wow.
on a certain online shopping site.
Can you
Seems
please
like a
not?
bargain.
Don't get tempted. Don't.
It'd be good. I mean, the neighbours would go mad.
Exactly.
The neighbours would go mad. But a McCallum at proper set, 584 quid.
I'd forgotten as well that Alistair Campbell plays the pipes.
Yes, he does.
And
Does he?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He plays the pipes, and because he's like Scottish descent, and he says that's a good way of relieving stress.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
getting
there you
back to
go.
that
We're
again.
talking about relief
Out
Cup
there.
of tea,
Yeah.
play
Well,
bagpipes,
playing a musical
walk in the woods.
relieves stress. You have to look for your own way, don't you?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, playing the bagpipes relieves stress in you and just creates stress in
In others.
Yeah.
Yeah.
until you go. Oh, there you go. Quite a nice
Have we
idea
got
there.
another story about ULEZ mobile camera vans?
Oh, yeah. Go on,
Yeah, we
Cindy.
do. This is another video of people dressed up as dinosaurs pushing ULEZ vans away.
Oh, yes.
Oh.
There's a big blue dinosaur.
Which is quite a good way to get publicity. I mean, we're talking about it now,
pushing a
aren't we?
ULEZ van out of the way.
I have to say, this is not the first time I've seen blue dinosaurs in the last month, because
Really?
in Manchester...
What have you been doing?
Well, at Conservative Party conference, there were a couple of dinosaurs on the picket line saying, dinosaurs destroy democracy, people protect democracy. And I don't know if they're the same dinosaurs who are anti-Tory but anti-ULEZ as well. But clearly,
So they're frightening the truth.
they're a
I'm not sure they're doing
radicalising
their cause
animal.
much good, really,
No.
Well,
But people will do anything to make a viral video now, I
It's
think.
like something from It's a Knockout. You remember
Yeah.
that?
Oh,
yes.
well, yeah. Yeah, I'll tell you what, we had a Grinch yesterday blocking a camera
Oh, really? Dressed up as a Grinch?
and a Conservative councillor this morning, not
Yeah.
quite as exciting.
Maybe they're
A
trying to
couple of
outdo one another.
dinosaurs. Yeah. I'll tell you what, that's why I don't understand with this. It's so unpopular. Even if as a politician you think, no, this is what we must do, this is a good idea, you'd go, well, if you want to win and get some votes, you just...
Well, they are in the vote business at the end of the day. That's it. You need to be popular, or else you get kicked out. And he's got an election coming up next year, so we'll find out, I guess.
Yeah.
That with the acid test. I mean, I'm sure, like in the Uxbridge by-election, the Conservatives will go into it, try and make it a referendum on ULEZ.
Yeah.
And
they
see
may
how-
do very well from
and
there.
Yeah, well, they won Uxbridge on the back of it, so who knows?
Yeah, I find it all very, very bizarre.
Are we going to look at Sir Keir Starmer's planning
Yes.
reform proposals?
Sorry, I just had a message from someone saying that was a "Do you think he saw us?"
Yes.
Dear me.
That's from a paleontologist I know as well. Who's just, she should know better.
Cindy, tell us about Sir Keir Starmer's planning reform proposals.
Yeah, well, just talking
which may
about
well
by-election.
win him the election.
Yeah, the by-election next week.
lose him the election.
Remember Nadine Dorris, who said
Yes.
who said she was going to resign, then didn't
yes.
for months, but
Yes.
now she has resigned, and the by-election is next Thursday. But her constituency is very interesting, which is that Labour is neck and neck with the Tories on the local poll, but the Lib Dems are very close behind as well. So Labour and Lib Dems are fighting it out with each other, and they could well split the vote. One of the big issues for them is that Labour have now said that they're really pro-house building. Lib Dems tend to attract the NIMBYs of the world, of the country, and so that could be something that loses Keir Starmer that by-election seat. So, when we're talking about things like the ULEZ vans, the Tories are not actually doing that well. The net zero watering down did they get them somewhere in the polls? But actually, a recent poll from after the conferences showed that Rishi Sunak was actually behind by 5 points, fallen by 5 points than previously compared to the conference.
But
And I think
anything
that's
could
because-
happen, I guess, in the next year, isn't it?
Well, yeah, I think it would be a major shock, I think, if the Tories were to turn it round from here. I mean, just being at the conferences, both of them, you'll know this as well, Cindy, the Conservative conference was very downbeat, very pessimistic, quite sparsely attended, whereas you went to the Labour one last week, and although not being complacent is the mantra that they're saying all the time, you could just tell they were bouncy, they were excited, they feel that they're going to win.
They're going to be, aren't they? I mean,
that seems pretty inevitable now. And despite Rishi Sunak is very energetic and he's making lots of announcements, but it doesn't seem to be shifting the national mood, really. I think people have more or less made up their mind for whatever reason.
Mind you, this is what happened in 1992, wasn't it? Labour thought they were going to win. Everyone was geared up for it, and then
and the Tories have still got like a 70-seat majority, so the Labour have come from a way back.
The swing would have to be
It would
massive.
need to be a big swing.
Yeah.
So it's not in the bag.
The problem for the Tories is that the trajectory is in the wrong direction. It's not that Rishi Sunak is becoming more popular compared to Liz Truss. He's actually losing the Conservatives' popular support. Things like the smoking ban from conference, they just don't capture the public imagination, whereas Labour is now putting out its policies and is going in the right trajectory, roughly. So where does it go from here? I mean, I think...
Not quite exciting enough, though, really.
Well, that's that, I think
It's just
a
not
lot,
enough.
I think a lot of people that's the one thing that's making them think
We'll see.
twice. You
We
know,
will
is that
see.
Labour, they're not convinced by Labour or Keir Starmer.
Yeah, I mean, we might see quite a low turnout next election. I don't know what, Kevin, what you think. Just people not enthused by either side.
There's a lot of don't knows in
Yeah.
the opinion polls, definitely.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of don't cares.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
that's just they've got a plague in all your houses type
Yeah.
of thing.
Yeah. Lovely. Look, it's been good to see you both this morning. Thank you very much indeed. Let's go check on the weather for you with Alex.